I would love to hear you help us understand what some emotional laced behavior in other people is signaling to us, because I don't think most adults go up to other adults and are like, I'm really lonely. Here's an example.
Yeah.
If this happened to a friend of mine where she just wanted to have a couple people go out for her birthday, just 3 or 4 friends.
Yeah.
And some other friends found out about it.
Yeah.
And she gets a passive aggressive text. Thanks a lot for inviting me. That is clearly behavior by another adult that is driven by emotions that are uncomfortable for them. When somebody kind of is emotionally volatile or passive aggressive in the way they communicate with you, what is the deeper thing that you could probably assume somebody's feeling or dealing with, so that you can tap into that compassion instead of like, oh, she's a jerk, you know?
Yeah. So I think this is really important. People aren't going to say like, I'm lonely. But if we think about, for example, the loneliness and then move it into that example, what is loneliness signposting? Loneliness is signposting a greater need for intimacy and connection. Okay. That's what it's signposting.
Yep.
Boredom is often signposting a greater need for growth. Anger, this idea of we've got to like not have anger. Anger is often signposting a need for equity or fairness, or that some values are being traversed. So if we move away from this idea that emotions are good or bad, or that I'm only allowed some of them, actually what we do is we move into the space where we start saying, for me as well as for the friend in the restaurant, is like, these emotions are signposting our needs and our values. And I think this is very, very powerful. Now, the person might not say, I am lonely, or gee, I feel excluded. Instead, they're doing it in this passive-aggressive way. But you are able to, as a human to another human, start saying, like, instead of what I'm seeing about the emotion, what is the function of the emotion? What is the emotion trying to tell us about our needs and our values? And the space of compassion is the space of saying, gee, it is actually hard to human. And gee, it actually, when you feel like you're part of our group of friends and you came out to dinner and you happen to see me with a smaller circle of this group having a birthday party and you realized you weren't invited, that kind of hurts. Okay.
A lot.
So what is the function of the emotion, or what is the function of the text? Okay. The function of the text is saying, do I matter? Or am I still part of us? And we often, what we're doing in reactive mode is, what do? We get the text. We say, oh my God, can you believe she didn't understand that I just wanted to be by myself? We maybe text our other friends. We start labeling them as toxic. We start, there's a very powerful way that we call it the fundamental attribution bias, where we start saying, what that person's experiencing is now her personality, okay? She's needy. She's all of these things, okay? So what we're often doing when we're in reactive mode is, that person's defensive, now I'm defensive, and now we're in this weird escalation of something that doesn't need to be. A different way of being in that space.
Talk to us, because I want to know how you would handle that, because I love the word escalation. Because you're right. I think we all have someone in our life where you've been on the receiving end of, oh, I see you're in Boston, Mel. Thanks for calling me. Like, I get one of those from a friend. I'm like, now I'm never calling you, by the way. But
well, like, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
but so now all
you
of
just
a sudden,
like guaranteed
your immature emotion, my immature emotion escalates.
And it's
so
all the time.
How do you, I think this is like, I think this moment right here, whether it happens at work, or it happens with a friend group, or it happens with a significant, this is everything. So you see the dishes in the sink with your roommate and your emotions fly up because they didn't do it again. And How do you, as a psychologist, when this happens to you and you feel someone else's emotional reactivity, how do you deal with it?
Well, just to be clear, I've got an effing PhD in this stuff, but it doesn't mean that I get it right all the time. Okay, but the approach.
Do you explain yourself or do you just validate the emotion?
I think it depends on the situation. I think sometimes it's completely okay to say, Georgia was in town and the three of us decided to go out.
Right.
I don't think you have to explain, but the crux here is understanding the emotion behind the surface level passive aggressiveness is what engages you in a clean relationship. And so much of my work is about moving into cleanness with ourselves and with others. Accepting my emotions, all of my emotions okay, I don't need to hustle. Separation between me and my difficult emotions because I own them, they don't own me. What does that look like? It's the granularity. It's the instead of I'm noticing what I'm feeling. Okay? Then, understanding the why behind difficult emotions. What the funk? What is the emotion signaling to you about your needs and your values? And then lastly, how can I move forward with those difficult emotions, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it requires huge amounts of courage because it's walking towards my values. And these skills are skills that enable us to be clean with ourselves, but also to be clean with others. Okay? You are allowed to feel what you feel. I'm helping you in this text message or in whatever example, I'm helping us to understand what's going on for you, that you're not just being a silly little bitch. Actually, you hurt because you care about me. I'm helping you to notice that you were feeling that, but I love you. Okay? And I'm helping us to also think about how do we want to be as friends? Like, what does friendship look like? Friendship often means that we go towards the values of having a difficult conversation.
I want to just highlight this part of the conversation because this is an example of what you are dealing with in life every single day. It's an example of these moments that I deal with every day in my life where something happens, someone has an emotional response, and now you're either going to react or you're going to take all this and put it in pause. And I want to just share what I just got from you, Dr. David. It's so easy to roll your eyes and, why is this person texting me this? This person's so dramatic. This person's always the victim, and start to label them and push them away. And what I just got listening to you is if you practice these skills and you come back to this emotional core, think about the gymnast, center yourself, pause, and then you can ask yourself, what might this person be feeling? Like the passive aggressive, the immature behavior, there is something deeper underneath that. And if I had to guess what's underneath somebody who's even texting me, hey, I see you're in Boston, things well, is they're trying to connect, even though the way they're doing it blows. That deeper and more profound underneath either the silence, the passive aggressive, all this stuff that irritates us is just another human being who can't process their emotions and who wants to somehow connect with you. And I think having that reframing helps me be a better human. It helps me bring more compassion. And it also helps me diffuse the emotion in the moment and be able to reach out to this friend of mine and say, something like, I can see that you're upset. Let's have a conversation about it tomorrow because I certainly don't want you to feel that way. Thanks for reaching out. What a wonderful way to handle it. Certainly beats turning to your friends at the table and being like, what a jerk. That is more emotional immaturity. Like I feel like there is an epidemic of avoiding difficult feelings and avoiding difficult conversations and shoving it down.
And of calling people toxic and of bitching and of whatever.
Yes. So is it just me, Dr. David, or is everybody a little bit more uneasy or emotional these days?
Absolutely. The world has been changing so quickly, and we as human beings, we're not taught in school the science of how to navigate emotions effectively. And so we come to a changing world that feels out of control.